Hello, everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Dwayne Kimball, United States Army veteran and retired VA rating specialist. Today, I have a special guest, Joe. He's joining me today to give a successful testimonial, and we'll get into that in a second. Welcome, Joe. How are we doing today?
Thanks, Dwayne. It's an honor to be on your channel. I'm doing pretty well. Thanks. How are you?
Hey, I can't complain. I'm down here in sunny Florida. It's hot. I don't get to go outside as much because I'm always doing YouTube and doing some other stuff here in the office. But yeah, I'm headed out to UPS in a few minutes. So that's like my little mini vacation for today. So Joe has been so kind to provide a successful testimonial for us today, and awesome story. And I just wanted to get it on record and share with other veterans. So Joe, real quick, can you tell us what branch of service did you serve in?
I was in the Army from 2000 to 2007.
Wow. Okay. You joined right after I got out. Okay. So my channel, we talk about the VA claims process. Talk about different topics to help veterans become more educated on the process, so they may be successful in obtaining the tax-free compensation benefits they deserve. Um, when did you start the VA claims process? How long ago did you start it right after service, or did you wait a few years?
Yeah, well, I did the BDD process as I was getting out. I didn't really know anything about filing VA disability claims at the time. I had my service treatment records, and when I went through the process, they were just, well, you can file for these things, and that was it. And I was given a percentage like the day after I got out, and that was it. I didn't really look at it again until last year, 2023, and I started going through the process because I've learned a lot just doing research online, watching a lot of YouTube videos, and started the process. And one of the big things was to get your claims file, get your VA claims file. That's got all your service treatment records. It's got everything, from all, your military service and all the stuff that the VA has on you. You have to have that to really start the process, so you can go through those service treatment records and figure out other things you might be able to get service connected for. And so yeah, I started that. I put in the request last year in I want to say November, sometime around November, for my claims file.
Mhm. Right. So you mentioned the BDD process. I want to touch on that for a second. BDD stands for Benefits Delivery Discharge, meaning veterans can now file claims, their initial claim, while they're still on active duty. So, a question on the BDD claims process. So, I'm assuming that you went through the TAPS program. Did you find
Yes,
that
I did.
TAPS class educational? Did they give you the information you needed to be successful with the VA claims process?
Insofar as I knew that I could file for disability claims for for medical things went through in service. That would be the extent of it. I didn't really uh, they didn't really teach all that much. It was kind of just an informational, like, yeah, you can do this.
Okay.
But again, this is 2007, so my memory might be a little bit fuzzy on it now.
Mhm.
But looking back, it probably could have been a lot more educational. Maybe uh, taken a little bit more time to kind of walk the soldiers through the process.
Yeah.
Yeah, but looking back, I don't think it was all that educational. Just maybe just a bit informational.
Right. I don't think much has changed. Last month was our last month. I started doing a BDD TAPS training for active duty. Active duty personnel. It was free. Did it right up close to a year, and I would ask that question: How was? And they, how was it? And it was some mixed reviews. Some said that they, helped a little bit, but they felt rushed. And when the information I gave them was a lot more, and they were like, the stuff that you talked about in your webinar, 85% of it wasn't covered during that BDD TAPS training. And I was shocked because I just thought, hey, they were going to give you all this great information and you can go out and you can file a claim and that was it. But I don't think it doesn't sound like much has changed from when you went through it from since 2007. So I hope it does and it gets better. So from the time that you filed a BDD claim until up to 2023 of last year, did you find the VA claims process difficult?
I think overwhelming. I don't think it's difficult if you really just take the time to get educated, and which I've been doing a lot of reading, 38 CFR M21.1, YouTube videos, the veteran benefits subreddit. There's so much information out there, and I know it's the system's not designed intentionally to be difficult to navigate, but it just by the nature of it is. But I think the more you learn, the easier it is.
Right, and I definitely agree. And I tell people when you start finding those nuggets and those regulations that pertain to what you do, what you're doing with your claim, it makes it a lot easier. So, do you feel? And I think you touched on this a little bit. So, being educated, that you would consider that if we had to do a top five, that would be in the top five prerequisites to be successful with this, with your VA claim is being educated, correct?
I would agree with that. I would say it, having a diagnosed condition is probably be the first thing, because you can't claim without a diagnosis, and then following that, having the evidence, having that, linking it to the service, having that nexus, and then I would say education is the very next thing after those things.
Right. I definitely agree. And we're going to switch gears here for a minute. You said something earlier about, having your VA claims folder, your C file. How did, or, as it pertains to the VA White House hotline complaint, where you can file a complaint, how did that play a factor for you as it pertains to your VA claims file?
Well, I didn't really consider it as a means by which I could try to uh, expedite the process, until I saw your video, and I took notes. I watched it several times, um, and then I just went through the process. I made the phone call. The first time I got a rep who, they sounded like they sounded like they wanted to help, but they were very unsure of what I was asking them. They were asking me more questions than I was asking them, and I was trying to explain to them, this is I'm trying to expedite getting my claims file. I need to get some claims filed before, I know there's some upcoming changes to certain things in the 38 CFR.
Mhm.
And they were just kind of like, okay, well, I'll take down the information, and you'll hear back. And I walked through the process. I relayed the things to them that you recommended saying, verbatim, and I didn't get a good feeling from it. So I got off the phone and I said, okay, I'm going to try this again. And I called back, I think later the same day or the next day. I called back and I got someone, and it was a night and day difference. I could tell they really were interested in what I had to say. They genuinely sounded like they wanted to help. Um, they they understood the things I was asking for, and the terms I was using, based on what was in your video. And so I got off the phone with that one with a much better feeling that I was gonna at least hear something back. I wasn't. I was hoping for a positive outcome, but I was I kept my expectations tempered, so I wouldn't get my hopes up too high. Um, and then just a few weeks later, I got the call from the VA regional office, the the records management center, and I spoke with a woman, and she said she was from the VA, and that they were going to overnight my claims CD, and they were just it was going out that day, and then 2 days, it was over a weekend, so a couple days later I had it.
So from the time that you made that initial call, the second call, until when
Mhm.
you receive your CD was less than a month, about, maybe 3 or 4. Okay.
Yes, it
And
was. It was
that's
less than a
what
month. Now,
happened to me. And so yeah, it, go ahead.
I was just going to say,
I'm sorry.
it had been, so I'd submitted the request in November, so it was a few months total. But yeah, from the time I made the call, which I believe was in, I want to say it was in March
Mm.
that I made the call, and then I had my claims file within 30 days.
Right. And so that's why I was trying to get veterans to understand, because they were saying, oh, it's taken, it's been 12 months, it's been 24 months. And I just, I was done with my claim and I just wanted a copy. I wanted that hard, not, I wanted it on the CD. And when I went online
Mm.
and looked, I was like, wait a minute, it's been 11 months. And I know they only give veterans 12 months. And so I had to think about what I wanted to say. And I knew that the individuals on the other line, they were just reps. That's it. They're not the ones that's going to take the complaint and go and turn around and do the work. They take the complaint
Mhm.
and send it over to VBA. So when I went through that process and received my CD within a couple of weeks, I was like, hey, I got to do a video on this and let other people know. So when you left a comment, I was like, hey, we got to get this story recorded so other veterans can see what other veterans have done and how they've been successful in watching that video and following through. So last question, Joe, and I'm just curious, when did you ask them to put in your complaint to receive a call back from a supervisor? I know that's something I did and I talked about in the video. I'm just curious if you requested that as well.
I did, and word for word, I asked to speak with a supervisor from the regional office that has jurisdiction over my FOIA request.
Wow.
And that's so when I got the call and the lady said she was from the the VA Records Management Center, I said, that's it.
There you go. There you go. So, I'm, just when I hear success stories like this, I get super excited because, someone obtained some information, the correct information, they used it and it actually worked. And that's one thing that I tell veterans is the regulations are on our side. We just have to know which ones pertain to what we're doing and the different processes. So the VA is, has come a long way and they still have a long way to go. But again,
Mhm.
the veteran has to invest that time to get educated. I can't, stress that enough. And what I've heard your answers today, what I heard you say is, you took the time, invested the time to get educated. So before we wrap up, Joe, is there any words of wisdom that you would like other veterans out there to know or share with other veterans out there that are still going through this process? Words of wisdom, from yourself and things that you found helpful.
Just persistence. Be persistent. Don't give up. It's an uphill fight, but it's worth it. I think especially, like I have a family. I'd say 90% of the reason I'm doing this is for my family. I can feel whether or not I deserve this or that, but it's about them. So I encourage other veterans, especially those that have families and children. Do the same. Fight for what's yours.
That is so true, Joe. And I tell veterans all the time, if you don't want to do it for you, do it for your family. Because I get calls from spouses saying, "Hey, I lost my husband last year, 2, 3 years ago, whatever, and am I entitled to anything?" And we get into the conversation, and majority of the time it's, "Oh, they didn't want to go and get treatment. They didn't want to do this, and now myself and our kids are struggling when they could have got the
Mhm.
benefits and left their family in a little bit better situation because the veteran is no longer here. So, definitely shout outs to you for doing that because you're not just thinking of yourself. Like you said, you are thinking of your family. So, once again, Joe, thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to do this interview. I know a lot of veterans that will see this. Hopefully, it will either trigger veterans to go in and get the benefits that they deserve and also watch my video, which I'm going to link this video that Joe and I talked about on how to obtain your VA claims file faster after you submit that FOIA request. Thank you again, Joe.
Thanks, Dwayne. Take care.